All right, good morning, everyone. I would like to speak on this topic one last time before I move on to other things that's going on in boxing. I don't want to stay on this and just keep making videos and stuff like that. All right. We already know the news of Terrence Crawford fighting David Avanesian. He's not going to fight Errol Spence. He's going to fight Avanesian in December. I don't think any true Bud fan or any boxing fan in general was asking for this fight. No one's asking for this fight. No one wants this fight. Okay. I understand it based on what's been reported, and just from a business standpoint, he's going to get 8 figures to fight David Avanesian, and it's going to be on BLK Prime. I hope the event is a success for Bud. I do want him to get paid, and I'm happy that he is getting paid. I will say that I'm very happy that he's getting paid, but do I want this fight? No. David Avanesian is a good boxer. All right, he's a ranked fighter. But at the end of the day, we know what Bud can do. We know what he's capable of. And at this point and this stage in his career, David Avanesian is pretty much a tune-up for him, because we're talking about a top 5 pound for pound fight. Same with Spence. If Spence was fighting David Avanesian at this stage of his career, I would say that, unless it's his mandatory, I would say that it's pretty much a tune-up. This is a voluntary fight. So I'm not asking for this. I already know what Terrence can do. He's already beaten guys on this level. No disrespect to David, but it is what it is. All right. Now, Terrence Bud Crawford has not fought in a year, and negotiations are still pending. And he said that I'm going to fight this year. I'm not going to go the whole year without fighting. Like, we know that's a fact. So whether or not I think the fight is going to happen or it's not going to happen next year, it's irrelevant right now. I want it to happen, but do I know if it's going to happen or not? No. I can sit here and make predictions all day. I didn't think it was going to happen this year to begin with, Originally, I didn't think it would happen this year. But then I had hope that it would happen. But now we're back to how I saw it in the beginning. But at the end of the day, look, Terrence Crawford, there is no evidence in the last 4 years since Terrence Crawford has been fighting as a welterweight that he's ducked any PBC fighter. There's no evidence of it. Him pulling away from this fight at this point during negotiations because he's not happy what PBC has to offer is nothing new in boxing. It's nothing new at all. Now, we don't know all of the details, all right? We only know what is being reported and what Terrence Crawford has said to channels like guys like Blue Blood, because I did hear the video. I did listen to the video of Blue Blood talking about Terrence Crawford and they're running at a 7-Eleven or something like that, right? And that's all we know. Errol hasn't really went into any details. Bud has only said that he's agreed with everything that he was offered. And according to reports made by Mike Hoppinger and stuff, they said that Terrence Crawford basically agreed to their terms and there was no guaranteed, and that, he is getting the shorter end of the split. That's all we know. We don't really know all of the details, but that is important information. But at the end of the day, that's all we know. There's nothing about that contract that says, wow. There's nothing about it. You have people that's trying to slander this guy off a contract that he didn't agree with. Calling him a duck. Just a smear campaign is going on with a specific group of boxing fans based on him turning down a contract that doesn't even sound like it's a good contract. Based on what we know, it doesn't even sound like it's great. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just that there's nothing special about it. For a fight of this magnitude, there's nothing special. Like when you heard Canelo and Plant, 40 million. That was great. When you heard Shakur Stevenson against Robson Conceição, 3 million. That's great. When you heard Teofimo Lopez deal with Triller, 7 million, that's great. When you heard Deontay Wilder get offered $100 million to fight on DAZN, that was great. Now hearing Terrence Crawford is getting offered 8 figures, upwards of 10 million, just to fight David Avanesian, when he's never got anywhere near that, that's great. There's nothing about this contract that says, wow, how can you turn that down? I haven't heard even any Spence supporter in this scenario. I haven't heard any of them say, wow, how can you turn down those numbers? What numbers are you talking about? There are no numbers. There's no guaranteed. He's getting a percentage of the revenue. That's it. There's no guaranteed purse like how they gave to Canelo recently. There's no guarantee. There's nothing wow about that contract. So like I said earlier, there is no point, there was no point, and there's no evidence, none, that Terrence Crawford ducked anybody on the PBC. There's no evidence of it. None, zero. If we go back from the time of him moving up to welterweight, when the PBC fans or supporters or the PBC fighters actually said, come up, get a belt, and then we'll see what's going on, which he did. There's no interview. There's no reports. There's nothing. There's no evidence of it. Now, as a welterweight, does he has a better resume than Errol Spence? Absolutely not. As a welterweight, absolutely not. Errol Spence fought the better fighters. Why? Because he has the privilege to get first dibs on the best fighters that's with the PBC. And when it comes to 147 and 154, they have the best lineup over there. It's been like this for years when it comes to boxing. At one point, Top Rank had it. And when Top Rank had it, they kept it in-house. When Sean Porter and Keith Thurman and all those guys were prospects coming up, Top Rank had it. They had Bradley, they had Pacquiao, they had Marquez, they had a whole bunch of people. They had to keep it in-house. Now PBC has the stable. So they kept it in-house. Even Errol Spence said, I'm a Showtime fighter. We keeping it over here. He said to Terrence Crawford's face, you're not part of the schedule right now. We talked about who's up next. You're not on the schedule. This is after Bud won a title. That's not evidence of ducking. You guys said it was Bob that was holding up the fight. I didn't say it. You guys said it. It was Bob holding up. He's not letting the fight go down. Now that Bud is not with Bob no more and made claims of him being racist, you agreed then, but now you're saying Bud is bad for business. Bob, look at the Bob Arum situation. He ruined Top Rank situation. He ruined the PBC situation. It's all his fault. It's him. It's Bud and nobody else's fault. I'm not saying Bud shouldn't take accountability to anything, because I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. What I'm saying is that this smear campaign of Bud being a duck, where is the evidence of it? That's all I'm asking, because I haven't seen it. Send me a link. Post a quote that Bud said. Post something. A video. I don't know. Any details of proving that Bud has avoided any PBC fighter in his career. I'm asking for that. I'm also asking you guys to tell me what's so good about this contract that he turned down. Because when I heard the BLK contract, I was like, oh shit, that's great. That's great money. You know, I know what his past purses were before. I know what he was getting paid per fight when he was with Top Rank. There's nothing about what PBC or that's been reported that said, wow. And if you guys feel differently, explain in the comments. Let me know. Nobody's letting me know. All I'm hearing all I'm seeing is a bunch of emotional people that is just smearing his name because they're upset that he didn't take the fight and he's taking the Crawford-Avanesian fight instead. He can't fight Spence right now because he doesn't agree with what they're offering. But he doesn't want to sit out on his ass neither. He sat out all year. So if he's going to get a bag somewhere else to take a quick fight in December, it's not in February. This fight is coming up while the last thing we heard is that they're pushing for a February date. He's taking a fight in December. What is the problem? I know the problem of us being disappointed that the fight is not happening next. I mean, we're all disappointed with that. I think we can all agree that we're upset that Bud is fighting Avanesian and not Spence next. And Spence is probably going to fight someone else next, because if Bud is going to take a tune-up, Spence is going to take a tune-up. Even if it's not a tune-up, even if it's a better quality opponent, you know, even if it's Stanionis or Thurman or something like that. Okay, is a better quality opponent, but that's because he has the option to do that because he is a PBC fighter and they have a stable over there. There's no fighter that is on a PBC that has said anything at any point that Terrence Bud Crawford ducked them. There's no point. Spence has said publicly, and you guys backed him, that he is going to wait until he does what he has to do on the PBC end. So Spence was never going to be an option until he did what he had to do on the PBC side. Okay, they both said they wanted Manny Pacquiao first. They both said that. Let's not forget. They both wanted Manny Pacquiao first. Spence almost got the Pacquiao fight. I congratulated. I was happy. I was the one that was hyped up doing a video on that because I wanted one of them to fight Pacquiao. I wanted one of them to have the opportunity before Pacquiao retired. Spence got the opportunity. Bob Arum screwed that up, you know, because Terrence Crawford should have had the opportunity, but Bob didn't want to give that to Bud. That's another thing that's not Bud's fault. Bud wanted the fight. You know, like, I'm talking about raw evidence. I'm not talking about just I'm mad, so this is how I feel about it. No, I'm talking about give me hard evidence that Bud has done anything to disrupt a fight with a PBC fighter. Because I don't have it. And this deal sounded like a deal that he was stuck with, and he had to take it because there was no other way he was going to get this fight. You know, I made a video a long time ago, not even long, it wasn't that long, maybe it was about a year ago, a year or two ago. I think when we were like really talking about this fight, it's probably before the Sean Porter fight, and I said, you know, I was talking about the Spence situation, and I said in the video, this was around the time when people started talking about splits, you know, because you had a lot of supporters of Errol that was saying outlandish like splits, like they were saying 80-20. So this was around the time that Spence tweeted that, like 70-30 or whatever he said. And then there was some people that was even pushing it to like 80-20. And I was like, this is ridiculous. But I also said, I don't think Bud is going to win a 50-50 split. Now, if Spence and they negotiate and they're finding a way, they bring it to the table and they find a way to agree to a 50-50 split, that would be great. But I personally didn't think that was going to happen, because of Spence's better pay-per-view revenues and because of the fact that he was going to come into the fight with more titles. So I said that I think that it should probably be 60-40. I believe this is like 35-65. I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, like, all I'm seeing is very emotional reactions. And I'm not seeing anyone say anything, but how do you fight David Avanesian and fight Errol Spence? Well, he's fighting David Avanesian because he turned down the contract that he wasn't happy with to take this fight. And he didn't want to sit any longer and not fight anyone. That makes sense. It's just, you know what the craziest part, and I'm going to end this because I don't want to drag this. The crazier part about all of this is that the same people that are saying this about Bud and him walking away from this contract, the same people were supported when other fighters did the very same thing. They walked away from great deals. And they were supportive of it because they support the fighter. They don't really support the business. You can clearly see that here. This is all about business at the end of the day. And as much as I am disappointed about this, I can't go in on Bud because there's not enough out there to let me know, like, how do you turn that deal down? They offer you, $10 or $15 million and you shut it down. I wouldn't say that because it was never reported that he was getting paid that much. All we know is that it was no guaranteed and a percentage. And he agreed to take the smaller part of the percentage. So what about this deal was so great to y'all to make you smear his name like the way that you're doing? This is one of the greatest fighters in this generation. And some of you are talking about him as in he's one of the worst, phoniest, fakest fighters in this generation. And the worst thing about that is that if you look at the people that's doing it, right? If you look at them, whether you're on YouTube or whether you're on Twitter and you look at the pictures of the people that's smearing his name the most, there's one thing in common.